Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, October 8, 2024. Time in Texas, about 1 p.m. So let's get started. I'd like to say thank you to Ted J for extra support for my channel. So now we're going to talk about what's going on in space. Yesterday, October 7, we had a G3 with a KP index of 7. That means we had auroras come all the way down to Arizona last night. Yesterday we had a X2 flare. So it's anticipated we'll have another G3 tonight as the Earth passes through the tail of a CME that was launched on October 6th. But yesterday we had another CME come off the sun that will be here in a few days. So today, another geomagnetic storm 3, KP index, maybe a 5 to 7 associated with the X2 flare. So now we'll talk about what's going on with Milton, also a life-threatening, unsurvivable hurricane, definitely in the same category as Beryl and Helene, being juiced up through this and that. Now, BPEARTHWATCH believes landfall will occur. He's saying Tuesday night. Hurricane Track just came out with an update, and he's saying Wednesday night. The National Hurricane Center is predicting landfall in the Tampa area Wednesday morning. So I would say today, and we understand a lot of service stations are out of gasoline. People are trying to get out of Florida, different routes. I think it was last night, I believe that was Hal Turner, who said on one of the evac routes on I-75, most of the service stations last night were out of gasoline. So people are running into that problem. People are also running into their unusual problems with their vehicles when they are stopped along the evac routes out of Florida. A service, it's usually a city or county service for the freeways, highway assistance, came out for one individual, and that was on Squawk News, that the person with the highway assistance group said they're seeing unusual impacts on vehicles, and some sources are relating it to the strong electromagnetic activity, geoengineering, that's going on, trying to juice up Milton even more, and that electromagnetic frequency could be impacting automobiles. The highway assistance person said, "We've never seen this before, and it's unusual." So we saw last night Milton going up to 180 miles per hour wind speed and a barometric down to 897. Then Hurricane Track brought this out last night. Then the hurricane, and the center of the hurricane is what's called the eye wall. This is where you have hurricane force winds. And this hurricane force winds go out about 30 miles. And tropical storm force winds are going out 105 miles. That's why there will be a wide impact over most of Florida. This storm is predicted to strengthen from what it currently is, a Cat 4, and to widen and to impact definitely along the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and into Georgia from this angle and into Alabama. So that's some new information we have coming out. So that happened last night. So this morning, October 8, 10 a.m., National Hurricane Service puts the wind at 150 miles per hour. That's a Cat 4. It is expected to intensify. Barometric now is at 929. So we see an increase from last night, 897 to 929. But that was during the period when it's rebuilding its eye wall. It's moving forward at 9 miles per hour. So Hurricane Track just came out with an update. The surge will be life-threatening, and he predicts it's going to make landfall Wednesday night and to impact Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina coast. But I have other sources who are talking about it widening and impacting. This would be southern Georgia, and this would be eastern Alabama. And Hurricane Track, just a few minutes ago, said Milton is now strengthening, and it will strengthen all the way up to landfall because there's an area off of Florida that has even warmer ocean temperatures. So that's going on. And now also off of Florida, there's another disturbance. It's now a low pressure, so it's beginning to strengthen. 20% chance for strengthening in 48 hours, 20% in 7 days. But it's moving out this way toward the Bahamas. So I have a Patriot subscriber who says, do people have their electricity back on now? Talking about the affected area of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. It's now being predicted in some areas. So we have North Carolina west, we have Tennessee east, and we have South Carolina and also Georgia, all in the same area, who have had catastrophic impacts. And some areas of North Carolina may not have power back, according to the experts, for 2 years. That's because, let's look at this. Say you have a house right here. It's on the ground. Under the house, you have water pipes, you have sewer pipes, you have services here, a community, a post office, church, school. You have ways to get there by railroad and by roads and by bridges. You have services like satellite dish, telephone lines, cell towers. All of that's gone in many, many areas. The railroads are gone. The roads, the bridges, all services, telephone, cell tower, satellites. The house is gone. The underground infrastructure is gone. And that leaves in many places, even the ground has deep cracks in it. So everything has been destroyed in many areas, above the ground and below the ground. And as I said, experts now in some areas of North Carolina don't believe they'll have power back on for 2 years. So we also have this. Canadian Prepper brought this out, that this hurricane is predicted now to go into the Bay of Tampa. And one of the areas it will make a direct hit on is CENTCOM. That's one of 11 combat command areas for the U.S. military. And primarily they cover the Middle East and Asia. Yeah, they cover the Middle East, Egypt and Africa, Asia, Central Asia, and parts of South Asia. And there are things that are going on now in the Middle East. But Canadian Prepper wasn't sure about their electricity. Well, some years ago, the U.S. military at every base was required to have its own power, separate from the state grid. So that's going on. And we have this. The eye wall was being rebuilt last night. And now we have this. Checking about the Middle East, what's going on in the Middle East right now is that Israel is, so we have Lebanon, we have Israel, we have Syria, we have Jordan, Iraq, Iran. So Israel, for the past couple of days, has been hitting Lebanon. And Lebanon is responding also by some rockets into Israel. And in the past week, Israel has assassinated many leaders of Hezbollah. They took out the top leader of Hezbollah a week or so ago. He was replaced by a individual named Sufadine. Israel, he was in place for a week and he was assassinated. And Israel has assassinated Hezbollah leaders of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and now their aim is for the top leader in Iran, the Ayatollah Khamenei. So, Hal Turner brings this out today. In the Iranian parliament is a bill being put forth. It's believed this will pass and be signed by Iran, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and I found it unusual. This will also include the Golan Heights, which legally is still a part of Syria. And it will be a mutual defense alliance called the Axis of Resistance. It's believed this will be signed today and will be an agreement between Iran, Syria, including Golan Heights, Iraq, and Yemen. And it's believed their objective will be to attack Israel in a unified manner. And also, just a few hours ago in Moscow, for reasons that are currently unknown, there were dozens of police and ambulances that were rushing to the Kremlin. The Kremlin is for President Putin like the White House is for America. So that's going on. So Milton is supposed to come in Tuesday night through Wednesday morning through Wednesday night, impact all of Florida and also parts of Alabama, Georgia, and then also the coastline of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. In Florida, it will come in, it's believed, landfall. Landfall is where the center of the eye crosses over land. That's called landfall. But because, so we'll have a 30-mile diameter of hurricane force winds, currently Cat 4. I believe this will strengthen to a Cat 5, and what we had last night, I would classify as a Cat 6 when it was up to 180 miles per hour. So 30 miles, and then tropical force winds out in a diameter of 100 miles. So that's going on. Now, Dr. William Mount, yeah, that was October 7. Milton was a Cat 5. It rebuilt its eye wall last night, reduced to a Cat 4, but is believed to strengthen. Now, Dr. William Mount brings out this information that in North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, also impacting South Carolina, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, there were 3 dams whose gates were opened to flood that area. And it's now coming out more and more. It's due to the deep state, the evil and corrupt dim government, wanting the mineral rights to lithium and quartz located in North Carolina, Tennessee, and South Carolina. So that's going on. West Virginia is now, their legislature is now considering a bill that, according to DC News now, that the state of West Virginia will not recognize what they perceive to be an illegal certification of November election. So they're not going to recognize it if the Republican candidate is assassinated, attempted assassination, or other conditions. The state will not recognize a Dem win if certain conditions are in place concerning the Republican candidate. So that's in their legislature right now. And now we have this from Squawk. Yeah, talking about geoengineering for Milton and impacting cars. So it's being put out, something about Milton is causing cars to break down. Highway assistance, never seen anything like that. And now from a Facebook friend in Spruce Pines, this is where the quartz mineral veins are located. Chimney Rock area is where lithium veins are located. And this is coming out. I have multiple sources on that the Dem Governor Cooper signed contracts with mining companies to mine the quartz and lithium in West North Carolina. This would also impact eastern Tennessee, South Carolina, this area. But the people are pushing back. Now, the Dem governor of North Carolina, Cooper, had no legal right to sign contracts with mining companies concerning land or what was underneath the people's land, their mineral rights. The governor had no legal basis to do that. When you are mining for minerals or when you are drilling for oil or gas, the company makes a deal with the landowner who also owns the mineral rights. So Cooper signed some kind of contracts, it's believed, with BlackRock and the Department of Defense, has no legal basis for it. The people would not sell their land, and as I've brought out in North Carolina, many of the deeds were stamped by King George. These people have been owning their land through their family line since before America was a nation. The people would not sell their land. So the deep state, via the Dem political party, moved to Plan B. Whip up this hurricane, Helene, now to impact North Carolina especially, and to make sure these people were killed, opened the floodgates on 3 dams. So all this area is flooded, and that's what we see. In video after video, we see destroyed areas, as I was demonstrating earlier. Houses, infrastructure, what was under the ground, everything's gone. And the deep state plan now, especially in western North Carolina, is to kill the people, bulldoze over their bodies, and seize the land. We see that going on. Yeah, so that's going on. Now, Dave Hodges is also bringing out information about geoengineering in North Carolina and now Florida. Yes, and we also saw that in Texas with Beryl. In July, Beryl was supposed to come in as a 1, came in as a 5. Catastrophic for Texas. And now we have this. This information is coming out from Dave Hodges, and we've had that multiple reports of FEMA trying to go into North Carolina, blockade and confiscate aid and confiscate money donations. And Dave Hodges' intel is FEMA is confiscating this aid and sending it to sanctuary cities for illegals. And now we have this from a Facebook friend concerning JBKH Mayorkas, the head of Homeland Security, also the Secret Service, and FEMA. It's being reported FEMA is out of money and can't give money to help Helene victims, and that they are also confiscating aid. Now, this is coming out from a Facebook friend, and I believe JWTV also had information on this, that sheriffs and the Highway Patrol in North Carolina are now saying to FEMA, if you try to blockade or confiscate aid, we will arrest you. Way to go. Under our Constitution, FEMA does not have the right as a federal agency to come in and take control over a state. The state power dominates federal. Now we have this coming out. President Trump has donated $25 million to North Carolina. He bought a tanker full of gasoline and rented trucks and organized truck drivers to bring gasoline to North Carolina. And also, we know he had asked Elon Musk to provide satellite dishes in North Carolina. And what do we see the JBKH shows doing? Lying through their teeth, saying that FEMA doesn't have money for aid. And what do we see President Trump doing? Donating his own money. Who are you going to vote for in November? And now we have this. So we have, in the New York Post, October 8th, today, came out this story. FEMA has an unused amount of money in some of their accounts, $7 billion. And then I put out that information that came out, I believe, Monday. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, third in line to be president, said he was alarmed when he heard FEMA say they didn't have money for the hurricane victims, because just in September, Congress voted emergency money to FEMA, $20 billion, with the condition that it only goes to American citizens. So we see the KH, JB, FEMA lying through their teeth. They do have money for aid. Cliff High's web bots. October will be a time of chaos. We may get more information about what's going on the moon, and we've been hearing recently some asteroid is supposed to be around the moon. And Cliff High recommends, if you want to give money to a good organization, he gives money to Cajun Navy. Now, Colonel Douglas MacGregor, a retired Army colonel, had a recent interview with Dane Whittington, author of The Dimming and knowledgeable of geoengineering. And I know many of my Patriot subscribers are very familiar with The Dimming. It's a video demonstrating what is geoengineering. So Colonel MacGregor interviewed Dane Whittington to speak about what's going on with the government in North Carolina. And Colonel MacGregor said he realized it was not a natural event and that North Carolina is under assault, absolutely, by the Department of Defense, HARP, and other geoengineering. And this was on Colonel MacGregor's X account. I'll list that for you in my description. And now we have this hurricane track. Yeah. And this is coming out from another source. North Carolina sheriffs and highway patrol have told FEMA they will be arrested if they try to block or confiscate aid. That was from JW-TV. So we have Milton currently, a life-threatening Cat 4 storm surge is predicted to be 15 to 18 feet. With Helene, I documented that the National Hurricane Center's predictions for storm surge did happen. Therefore, I would describe this Milton coming in. It's a 4. Most likely it's going to intensify to a 5 and may indeed come in as a 5. It's to impact all of Florida and parts of Alabama, Georgia, and also cause coastal impact in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. So it's good to be in prayer for America, and definitely for all these immediate concerns that are going on in Southeast U.S., and I believe it's good to pray for world peace. And in CENTCOM, it's one of 11 command and control locations. As I mentioned, military bases some years ago were required to have their own power, separate from the state grid, and CENTCOM is one of 11 combat command centers. So if the military's planning, if one goes down, these people can be transferred, and in the last few days, CENTCOM was moving all their planes and helicopters from Tampa. So our military, Middle East command and control, is in no danger of being threatened The military has duplicate areas that could pick up the slack. They also would have an empty area where CENTCOM could simply move from Florida to that a new location and be ready to go with immediately. There would be no time lapse in the command and control of the Middle East. So it's good to be in prayer for America, world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.